In this module from Chapter 4 on Reproduction, Module 4.5, I describe three models used to characterize and describe the stages and schedules of reproduction at an individual level of fly, including the adult stages model, the reproductive clock model, and the working and retired fly model. So Model 1, adult stages. The female adult phase of the life cycle can be divided into three stages: maturation, maturity, and senescence. The first stage is a transient period of achieving a steady state at maturity that can then be maintained until the senescent stage. Novoseltsev and his colleagues at Duke University developed a model that incorporated these stages into a female medflies, and they noted that model fitting at the individual fly level allowed for the efficient characterization of individual level fecundity with only 5 numbers for each fly. These numbers include age of first reproduction, X onset, age of senescence, X senesce, lifespan, LS, the rate of daily egg laying in the reproductive window, RC, and the exponential rate of senescence, alpha senesce. These numbers can then be used to compute 3 additional individual level metrics, including the length of the reproductive window, T, the egg laying rate during the senescent phase, F, and the senescence phase duration, S. Here is a schematic of the Novoseltsev 3-stage model showing all of these parameters. Note that the rate of egg laying, RC, in this model assumes constant egg laying from the X onset to X senesce, and then exponentially decreasing reproduction thereafter. A comparison of individual level metrics generated using this model for comparing egg laying and survival between medflies from Greece versus those from Israel is given in this table. Note egg laying rate in the reproductive window was around 10 versus 40 eggs per day for these respective medfly strains. The length of the reproductive window, T, was 25 versus 7 days. Age of onset of reproduction was 10 versus 3 days. Lifespan was 134 versus 60 days. And total eggs was around 330 versus 740 eggs per female. The bottom line here is that this 3-stage model appears to be extremely useful in a comparative context of individual level reproduction. The next model, Model 2, is reproductive clock. Hans Mueller and his colleagues at UC Davis developed a model of individual egg laying based on the rate of decrease in egg laying between ages 10 and 25 days. They discovered that individual egg laying trajectories rose sharply after egg laying began 5 to 17 days after emergence, reached a peak, and then slowly declined. The rate of decline varied between individuals, but this rate was approximately constant for each individual. They found that individual fly fecundity tends to decline more slowly for flies with high peak fecundity, and that the protracted decline in egg laying after the initial sharp rise was reasonably well predicted by this exponential model. The schematic shows a relationship between the slope of egg laying decline after age 10 days for individual female flies and their predicted longevity. On average, the flies whose reproductive output decreased slowly after day 10 lived longest, and flies whose egg laying rate decreased rapidly after day 10 lived the shortest. Examples of the relationship of egg laying and longevity are shown for short, medium, and long-lived flies. We start with an example here that shows a typical daily egg laying pattern for an individual medfly, female, over her lifespan. This is a baseline. Now this next plot shows the steep slope with age of egg laying from 10 to 25 days for a single female that experienced a short lifespan, that is 28 days. This next plot shows reproduction in a single fly with an intermediate slope with age and which experienced a longer lifespan, that is 37 days. Then this last plot shows reproduction in a fly with a shallow slope with age and which experienced lifespan of 54 days. So a comparison of slopes across a 2-week window of reproduction reveals the relationship of the rate of decrease in individual level reproduction with age and that individual's lifespan. So model 3 is working in retired flies. In this third model that connects reproduction and future life expectancy, University of Minnesota professor James Kurtzinger divided the life of adult Drosophila melanogaster into two functional stages, what he called working and retired. The working stage was characterized by relatively high levels of oviposition and survival, and the retired stage by low levels of oviposition and reduced survival. This model showed that the retired stage in Drosophila typically lasts 1/4 of the total adult lifespan, and the age of transition varies between flies. As a result, cohorts of same-aged flies contain mixtures of working and retired flies. Examples of the survival difference between working and retired flies are shown here, where stage-dependent conditional survivorship is shown for 15-day-old flies. Retired flies had significantly lower subsequent survival than working flies of the same age. For example, flies that entered the retired stage at age 15, that is, they have much reduced or zero reproduction, were 19 times more likely to die by day 20 than working flies of the same age. This bar graph shows that life expectancy for retired flies at 15 days was less than 20 days, whereas life expectancy at this same age for working flies, that is, those flies still actively laying eggs, was 10 days greater. This ends Module 4.5 on individual level reproductive fly models.